Beneath the waves, where sunlight fades into endless blue, lies a world that holds secrets older than memory itself. Imagine walking through the ruins of civilizations swallowed by time, untouched for centuries, waiting to whisper their stories to those who dare to listen. The ocean, vast and mysterious, hides more than just shipwrecks and coral. It guards entire cities, temples, and monuments that defy everything we thought we knew about history. These aren't just relics of the past, they're puzzles that challenge our understanding of human achievement, leaving experts scratching their heads and adventurers hungry for answers. What if I told you there are places underwater so inexplicable, so hauntingly out of place, that they seem to belong to another world, from the submerged pyramids of Japan to the eerie, circular structures lurking off the coast of Cuba? These sites don't just spark curiosity, they rewrite the rules. Who built them, how did they end up beneath the waves, and why do some of these locations align with ancient myths and legends that spoke of great floods and lost kingdoms? The deeper you go, the more questions arise, pulling you into a mystery that feels like it's straight out of a forgotten epic. This isn't just a journey through water, it's a voyage into the unknown, where every discovery feels like uncovering a piece of history that wasn't meant to be found. Today we're diving into 25 of the most enigmatic underwater locations on Earth, places where the line between myth and reality blurs. Some are so perfectly preserved, it's as if time stopped the moment the sea claimed them. Others are so bizarre, they've sparked theories of alien intervention or advanced ancient technology. Whether you're a history buff, a lover of mystery, or someone who just can't resist a good adventure, these sites will leave you wondering, what else is down there, waiting to be discovered? So take a deep breath. We're about to plunge into the depths of the unexplained. Off the southernmost tip of Japan, beneath the crystal-clear waters near Yonaguni Island, lies a site that has baffled experts for decades, a sprawling, geometric complex of stone so precise, so eerily symmetrical, it's hard to believe nature carved it alone. Known as the Yonaguni Monument, this submerged structure stretches over 150 feet long, with sheer cliffs, flat platforms, and what appear to be staircases ascending at perfect right angles. Some corners are razor sharp, and the terraced layers look like they were deliberately stacked, almost like the ruins of an ancient ziggurat or ceremonial plaza. But here's where the mystery deepens. Marine geologists are split. Some argue these formations are the result of natural sandstone erosion, shaped by centuries of powerful ocean currents. Others, like researcher Masaki Kimura, point to hand-carved tool marks, a pillar that couldn't have formed without human intervention, and even what looks like a carved human face staring silently from the depths. Then there's the question of time. If humans did build this, when estimates suggest the structure could have been above water during the last ice age, over 10,000 years ago, long before mainstream history says advanced civilizations existed in this region. That's led some to connect Yonaguni to the legend of Mu, a fabled Pacific continent said to have vanished beneath the waves, much like Atlantis. Could this be a remnant of that lost world? Or is it evidence of an unknown ancient culture with skills we've underestimated? Divers who've explored the site describe an almost spiritual weight to the place, as if the stones themselves are whispering secrets from a forgotten epoch. Whether it's nature's artistry or humanity's handiwork, one thing's certain: Yonaguni doesn't just challenge our timelines, it dares us to rethink what's possible. Now let's leave the Pacific and dive into the Mediterranean, where another underwater marvel lies hidden, the sunken city of Heracleion. Once a thriving port at the mouth of the Nile, this ancient metropolis was so legendary, historians debated for centuries whether it was real or just a myth. That is, until 2001, when marine archaeologist Frank Gaudio made a discovery that sent shockwaves through the academic world: an entire city, perfectly preserved beneath the sea, frozen in time. Heracleion wasn't just a minor outpost, it was a bustling hub of trade, culture, and religion, where Egyptian pharaohs rubbed shoulders with Greek merchants. The sheer scale of what's been uncovered is staggering, towering statues of gods and kings, some standing over 16 feet tall, their faces still etched with serene authority. Stone slabs inscribed with decrees in hieroglyphs and ancient Greek, proving this was a place where two great civilizations converged, gold coins, jewelry, and even ceremonial boats, all lying undisturbed on the seabed as if waiting for their owners to return. But how did such a powerful city vanish? The answer lies in nature's fury. Around 1200 years ago, a devastating combination of earthquakes and rising sea levels liquefied the soft clay beneath Heracleion's foundations. Buildings toppled, the ground swallowed entire streets, and slowly, the sea claimed what was once a beacon of human achievement. And here's where history collides with myth. Ancient texts mention Heracleion as the place where Helen of Troy and her lover Paris stopped during their fateful journey, sparking the Trojan War. Was this just poetic license, or could there be a kernel of truth in those stories? The artifacts don't lie, this city was real, and its rediscovery forces us to question how many other legends might be waiting beneath the waves. Now, let's journey from the sunken cities of the Mediterranean to the cold, dark waters of the Baltic Sea, where a discovery so strange was made that it's still sparking heated debates over a decade later. Picture this: in 2011, a team of Swedish treasure hunters scanning the seabed with sonar suddenly stopped in their tracks. Their screens showed something utterly inexplicable, a massive, disc-shaped object, nearly 200 feet across, resting on the ocean floor. With its smooth, curved edges and what looked like a long, trailing skid mark behind it, the image immediately ignited imaginations. Was this a crashed UFO? A forgotten Nazi weapon, or simply a quirk of nature playing tricks on the eye? Dubbed the Baltic Sea Anomaly, the object became an overnight sensation. Divers who later visited the site described even weirder details: a surface covered in strange, soot-like formations, bizarre right-angled structures, and even reports of electronic equipment malfunctioning near it. Some claimed the object seemed to sit atop a giant pillar, as if it had been deliberately placed there. Others swore they found metallic samples with compositions unlike anything naturally occurring in the area. Scientists, however, offered a more grounded explanation: a glacial deposit. They argued that the unusual shape could be the result of ancient ice sheets scraping and melting over millennia, leaving behind bizarre geological formations. But skeptics of this theory point out that glacial deposits don't usually form perfect circles, or come with what appear to be staircases and corridors, as some sonar images suggest. Then there are the wilder theories. Some researchers speculate it could be a secret Nazi anti-submarine device, lost during World War II. Others go further, suggesting it's an extraterrestrial craft, citing its uncanny resemblance to the Millennium Falcon from Star Wars. Even mainstream experts admit one thing: the Baltic Sea Anomaly defies easy categorization. What makes this mystery even more compelling are the first-hand accounts from those who have braved the depths to study it. Professional diver Stefan Hogerborn, part of the original team, described an almost eerie sensation when approaching the object, as if the water itself felt heavier. Another researcher, Volker Bruchard, a geology professor, initially dismissed it as a natural formation, but later admitted some features were hard to explain. So what's really lying beneath the Baltic? A relic of human history, a geological oddity, or something far stranger? Until more evidence surfaces, literally, this enigmatic disk remains one of the ocean's most tantalizing puzzles, a reminder that even in our modern age, the sea holds secrets that refuse to be solved. Deep in the Gulf of Cambay, off the western coast of India, lies a discovery that has reignited age-old debates about the line between myth and history: the underwater ruins of Dwarka. According to Hindu scriptures, this was no ordinary city. It was the legendary kingdom of Lord Krishna, a flourishing metropolis said to have been built on divine orders, with gates of gold and palaces that touch the sky. For centuries, these stories were dismissed as pure mythology until marine archaeologists stumbled upon something extraordinary. Divers exploring the area have uncovered massive stone structures, some with perfectly chiseled edges, lying 40 meters beneath the waves. There are remnants of what appear to be city walls, pillared halls, and even a series of geometric formations that resemble ancient harbor defenses, but what truly stunned researchers were the artifacts, pottery shards, beads, and tools carbon dated to around 9,000 years ago, a time when mainstream history suggests such advanced urban settlement shouldn't have existed in this region. The implications are staggering. Could this be evidence that the Mahabharata, the epic Hindu text describing Krishna's Dwarka, wasn't just allegory but historical record? Proponents of this theory point to the ancient scriptures' vivid account of the city's fate, how it was swallowed by the sea after Krishna's death, as if the ocean itself was reclaiming what the gods had bestowed. The timing aligns eerily with geological records showing a massive sea level rise around 7,000 years ago, which would have submerged coastal settlements. Skeptics, however, urge caution. They argue that while the ruins are undoubtedly ancient, linking them definitively to Krishna's Dwarka is a leap. Could this instead be a lost Harappan outpost or a previously unknown Neolithic settlement? The debate rages on, but one thing is undeniable: the scale and precision of these ruins suggest a society far more advanced than we once believed possible for that era. Perhaps the most haunting detail comes from local fishermen, who have long spoken of strange shadows beneath the waves, during low tide, ghostly outlines of structures that vanish as quickly as they appear. Whether this is Krishna's sunken kingdom or a forgotten chapter of human history, Dwarka's ruins serve as a humbling reminder. Sometimes the oldest stories hold truths we're only beginning to uncover. Just off the coast of Bimini in the Bahamas, a strange underwater pathway stretches across the ocean floor, a formation so unnervingly straight, so deliberately arranged that it sparked decades of heated debate. Known as the Bimini Road, this half-mile-long line of massive limestone blocks, each fitted together like an ancient jigsaw puzzle, looks anything but natural. The edges are crisp, the angles precise, and the way they align almost suggests the remnants of a harbor, a collapsed wall, or even the spine of a long-lost structure. The moment divers first spotted these blocks in 1968, whispers of Atlantis began. Could this be a piece of that fabled city, swallowed by the sea as Plato described? The timing seemed eerily prophetic. Decades earlier, a mystic Edgar Cayce had predicted, with unsettling accuracy, that ruins of Atlantis would emerge near Bimini in 1968 or 69. To believers, this wasn't coincidence, it was confirmation, but geology tells a different story. Mainstream scientists argue the Bimini Road is a textbook example of beachrock, a natural formation where coastal sediment cements over centuries, fracturing into blocky segments as sea levels rise. Wave action and tidal forces, they say, could easily create these seemingly artificial lines. Some studies even point to identical formations elsewhere in the Bahamas, with no ties to lost civilizations. Yet the mystery deepens when you examine the details. Independent researchers like archaeologist Greg Little highlight tool marks on certain stones, grooves that appear too uniform for random erosion. Others note the block's placement, some stacked in layers, others positioned as if to channel water, suggesting intentional design. Even more intriguing are the smaller, matching stone circles found nearby, formations that look eerily like mooring posts for ancient ships. So who's right? The answer may lie somewhere in between. While most geologists dismiss Atlantis theories, even they admit the Bimini Road is an unusually neat example of natural processes. Could it be that nature crafted something so perfect it fooled us? Or is there a sliver of truth in Cayce's prophecy, a fragment of a civilization we've yet to fully understand? What makes this site so compelling isn't just the debate, it's the way it lingers in the imagination. Standing on a boat above the road, peering into the turquoise water at those ghostly stones, it's impossible not to wonder, if this is nature's handiwork, why did it feel so much like a message? In the deep waters off Cuba's western coast, sonar scans have revealed something that shouldn't be there, a series of massive geometric structures lying nearly 2,000 feet below the surface. The images captured in 2001 by a team of ocean explorers show what appear to be symmetrical stone formations, some resembling stepped pyramids, others stretching out like crumbling urban grids. The largest of these structures measures an astonishing 160 feet tall, with smooth, angular sides that defy the randomness of natural geology. It's a discovery so perplexing, it's fueled theories of a forgotten civilization, one that might rewrite the history of the Americas, but exploring these underwater enigmas isn't just a matter of diving down. At those depths, the pressure is crushing, and the technology required to investigate is both expensive and rare. Add to that the political complexities of researching in Cuban waters, where access for foreign teams is heavily restricted, and you've got a mystery that remains tantalizingly out of reach. Marine geologists, when pressed, often dismiss the formations as unusual but explainable, perhaps ancient beach terraces or hardened lava flows, warped by tectonic shifts over millennia. Yet even they can't deny the eerie precision of those right angles, the clusters of stones that seem arranged with purpose. Alternative researchers, meanwhile, point to the uncanny resemblance to known pyramid complexes in Mesoamerica. Could these structures be remnants of an advanced pre-Columbian culture, one swallowed by rising seas at the end of the last ice age? Some go further, suggesting a connection to Plato's Atlantis, citing ancient flood myths from indigenous Caribbean cultures that speak of a great city punished by the gods. Then there's the anomaly of depth itself. How did human-built structures, if that's what they are, end up so far beneath the waves? Geological records show sea levels rising roughly 300 feet since the Ice Age, not the 2,000 needed to submerge this site. The most compelling argument, though, might come from the silence. Despite decades of speculation, no definitive expedition has been able to thoroughly document the site. A few tantalizing glimpses: a stone block with what looks like carvings, a circular formation reminiscent of a ceremonial plaza, only deepen the intrigue. Until more evidence surfaces, the sunken pyramids of Cuba remain a haunting question mark, a reminder that the ocean's greatest secrets might still be waiting in the dark. Beneath the turquoise waters of Alexandria's harbor, a queen's lost world lies in silent ruin. This isn't just any underwater site, it's the legendary palace of Cleopatra, the last ruler of ancient Egypt, whose name alone conjures images of opulence, power, and tragic romance. For centuries, historians believed her royal quarters were lost forever, swallowed by the Mediterranean after a series of devastating earthquakes 1,600 years ago. But in the 1990s, marine archaeologists made a discovery that changed everything: the sprawling remains of Cleopatra's submerged kingdom, hidden under layers of sand and seawater. Diving into this underwater time capsule feels like stepping into a dream. Towering granite columns, toppled but still majestic, stretch across the seabed like the bones of a fallen giant. Among them, colossal statues stand frozen in time, sphinxes with enigmatic smiles, their features worn but still regal, as if guarding secrets they'll never share. One particularly striking find was a pair of red granite figures believed to depict Cleopatra and her lover Mark Antony, their faces eerily intact despite centuries beneath the waves. Nearby, slabs inscribed with hieroglyphs and Greek script hint at the palace's dual identity, where Egyptian pharaohs and Roman rulers once walked the same halls. The story of how this grandeur met its end reads like a Hollywood epic. In the 4th century, a perfect storm of earthquakes and tsunamis struck Alexandria, liquefying the soft ground beneath the city's foundations. The royal district, built on unstable sediment near the harbor, collapsed in slow motion, sliding beneath the waves as if the sea itself had claimed it as tribute. Ancient texts describe the chaos: how temples crumbled, streets flooded, and the heart of Cleopatra's empire vanished in days, yet what's truly remarkable is how much survived. Archaeologists have recovered golden coins stamped with the queen's profile, delicate pottery still bearing traces of perfumes traded from distant lands, and even the remnants of a grand staircase that may have led to her private chambers. Every artifact paints a picture of a place where politics and luxury collided, where alliances were forged over feasts and empires decided in whispered conversations. Today, the site isn't just a ghostly relic, it's a living museum. Egypt's government has created an underwater archaeology park, allowing divers to glide past Cleopatra's ruins alongside fish and coral. For those who prefer to stay dry, glass-bottom boats and 3D virtual tours bring the palace back to life, but the work isn't finished. New excavations continue to reveal surprises, like the recent discovery of a shipwreck nearby, its cargo of treasures suggesting even more of the city's story is waiting to be uncovered. Standing on the shore of modern Alexandria, gazing at the water where Cleopatra's palace once glittered under the sun, it's hard not to feel the weight of history. This isn't just a collection of stones, it's a testament to how even the mightiest can fall, and how the sea, indifferent to crowns and conquests, guards its trophies well. High in the Andes, straddling the border of Bolivia and Peru, Lake Titicaca shimmers like a liquid mirror, but beneath its surface lies a secret older than the Inca Empire itself. At 12,500 feet above sea level, this sprawling body of water holds remnants of a sacred past, crumbling temples, ancient pathways, and treasures tossed into the depths as offerings to the gods. In 2000, a team of divers made a discovery that sent shockwaves through the archaeological community: an underwater temple complex stretching over 600 feet, with stone walls so precisely fitted, not even a knife blade could slip between them. Among the ruins, they found delicate gold foils shaped into miniature llamas, shells from distant oceans, and intricately carved ceremonial boxes, all hinting at rituals that once echoed across these sacred waters. The site's significance ties directly to the Inca creation myth of Viracocha, the bearded god who emerged from the lake's depths to bring light and order to the world. According to legend, this was where he commanded the sun, moon, and stars to rise, and where the first Inca rulers, Manco Capac and Mama Oclo, were born from the foam. The artifacts found underwater seem to echo these stories: golden discs that could symbolize the sun, stone altars aligned with celestial events, and even a submerged monolith some believe represents Viracocha himself. But the lake's mysteries are under threat. In recent decades, pollution from mining runoff and untreated sewage has clouded the waters, choking the fragile ecosystem and obscuring the ruins. Archaeologists warn that without urgent action, sedimentation could bury these structures for good, erasing clues to a civilization that once saw this lake as the center of the cosmos. Local Aymara communities, who still perform rituals on the lake's islands, describe watching the water grow murkier each year, a slow suffocation of their ancestral heritage. Yet there's hope. Bolivian and Peruvian researchers have begun using 3D mapping to document the ruins before they vanish, while grassroots efforts to clean the lake gain momentum. For now, the temples remain, silent and half-hidden, a testament to a time when the divine was believed to rise not from the heavens, but from the depths. Standing on the shore at dawn, as the light dances on the water, it's easy to understand why the Inca called this place the birthplace of the sun, and why its secrets, still submerged, feel so urgently alive. Beneath the choppy waves of Lake Michigan, where freshwater stretches for miles in every direction, a team of archaeologists made an unexpected discovery that rewrote the history of the Great Lakes region. While mapping the lakebed with sonar in 2007, they detected a series of large stones arranged in a near-perfect circle, resting 40 feet below the surface. The formation, now dubbed the underwater Stonehenge of Lake Michigan, consists of granite boulders, each roughly the size of a compact car, standing upright in a ring measuring approximately 40 feet across. At its center lies a single massive stone, etched with what appears to be a crude carving of a mastodon, an Ice Age creature that vanished from North America over 10,000 years ago. The implications are staggering. If the carving is genuine, and some geologists argue the markings could be natural, it suggests this site might predate every known Native American civilization in the area by millennia. The stones themselves, though worn by centuries of water and sediment, show signs of deliberate placement. Unlike the scattered glacial rocks nearby, these megaliths form a cohesive pattern, with evenly spaced gaps resembling the alignment of Europe's famous Stonehenge, albeit on a smaller scale. Archaeologists have floated two compelling theories. Was this a prehistoric hunting blind, where early humans ambushed migratory animals along an ancient shoreline? Or could it have been a ceremonial site, a place of gathering and ritual for a people whose name and culture are lost to time? Dating the structure presents a unique challenge. Unlike terrestrial ruins, underwater sites lack organic material like charcoal or bones for carbon dating. Researchers must rely on geological clues, shifts in lake levels, mineral deposits on the stones, and that enigmatic mastodon carving. Lake Michigan's water levels were significantly lower at the end of the last ice age, around 9,000 years ago, exposing this area as dry land. If the stones were placed then, they'd be contemporaries of Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, the world's oldest known temple. Local Ojibwe oral traditions speak of ancient ones who built stone circles to commune with spirits, though no direct link has been proven. Meanwhile, skeptics caution that the formation could be an unusually neat glacial erratic, a pile of rocks left behind by retreating ice sheets, but the mastodon carving, if verified, throws a wrench in that theory. Mastodons disappeared from the region around 12,000 years ago, meaning any depiction of them would have to be incredibly old, crafted by some of the earliest humans to set foot in the Americas. For now, the site remains protected by its watery shroud, its secrets intact. Dive teams who have visited describe an almost reverent stillness around the stones, as if the lake itself is guarding their story. Whether it's a relic of Paleo-Indians, a glacial fluke, or something even older, one thing is certain: the Great Lakes have been hiding more than shipwrecks. They've been keeping a secret, written in stone, waiting for the right moment to surface. Off the southern coast of Laconia in Greece, where the Aegean Sea meets the Peloponnese, lies a time capsule from the dawn of civilization, Pavlopetri, the world's oldest known submerged city. Dating back over 5,000 years, this sprawling Bronze Age settlement isn't just a scattering of ruins, it's a remarkably intact urban blueprint, with streets still laid out in a grid, foundations of homes and temples standing firm, and even the faint outlines of courtyards and tombs visible beneath the shallow waves. What makes Pavlopetri extraordinary isn't just its age, it's the eerie preservation of everyday life, frozen in a moment when the sea swallowed it whole. Archaeologists first documented the site in 1967, but its true significance didn't emerge until decades later, when advanced underwater mapping revealed the staggering scope of this lost city. Unlike later Greek settlements built haphazardly on hills, Pavlopetri was meticulously planned, with clear zoning for residential, religious, and commercial spaces, proof that urban sophistication existed centuries before the glory of Athens. Among the ruins, divers have uncovered pottery from Crete, tools made of obsidian from distant islands, and fragments of textiles dyed with rare pigments, all evidence of a bustling trade hub that connected mainland Greece to the wider Mediterranean. The city's sudden disappearance remains a puzzle. Geological evidence suggests a combination of earthquakes and rising sea levels around London BCE buried Pavlopetri, but there's no sign of panic or war, just a quiet surrender to the waves. This has led some researchers to theorize the abandonment was gradual, with residents relocating as the waters crept higher, leaving behind a ghost town that the sea claimed inch by inch. Others point to local myths of a city that sank in a single night, suggesting the disaster might have been more dramatic than the ruins let on. Pavlopetri's value goes beyond archaeology. In 2009, UNESCO designated it as a protected underwater cultural heritage site, one of the first of its kind, recognizing its role in rewriting the narrative of early urbanization. The city's layout, with its central marketplace and carefully aligned streets, challenges the long-held assumption that complex urban planning didn't emerge until later Mesopotamian or Egyptian societies. Here, beneath the clear Greek waters, is proof that Bronze Age minds were capable of visionary design, crafting communities with a logic and order we still recognize today. What's most haunting, though, is how familiar Pavlopetri feels. Swimming above its streets, you can almost picture merchants haggling over spices, children darting between houses, and fishermen unloading their catch at the waterfront. This wasn't just a city, it was a living, breathing world, one that thrived 3 millennia before modern skyscrapers, and now, as saltwater gently erases the last traces of its walls, Pavlopetri whispers a reminder: civilizations rise and fall, but the sea keeps their secrets well. Deep in the jungles of Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula, where sunlight filters through dense canopy to dapple the surface of sacred waters, lies one of nature's most surreal illusions, Cenote Angelita's underwater river. At first glance, the sight defies logic, a silvery current winding through the depths like a ghostly highway, flanked by submerged trees and leaf litter, as if a piece of the forest floor had been magically transplanted beneath the waves. But lean closer, and the truth reveals itself: an extraordinary trick of chemistry, not a river at all, but a dense layer of hydrogen sulfide separating lighter freshwater above from heavier saltwater below. This delicate boundary, undulating like liquid mercury, creates the uncanny effect of a flowing stream suspended in midwater. Divers who brave these depths describe an experience bordering on the supernatural. As they descend past 30 meters, the crystal-clear freshwater abruptly gives way to a hazy, cloud-like stratum, the hydrogen sulfide zone. Visibility drops to near zero, and the sensation shifts from weightlessness to something thicker, almost syrupy. Then, like passing through a portal, they emerge beneath the river into a world of saltwater so dense it refracts light differently, distorting shadows and magnifying the skeletal branches of long-drowned trees. These eerie formations, preserved by the cenote's mineral-rich waters, stand like sentinels of a forgotten world. Local Mayan guides whisper that Cenote Angelita is a doorway to Xibalba, their mythological underworld, a place where spirits journeyed through treacherous watery caves before reaching the afterlife. Modern divers quickly understand why. The hydrogen sulfide layer isn't just visually deceptive, it's potentially deadly. At high concentrations, the gas can paralyze the nervous system, and disorientation in the gloom has led to fatalities. Yet the risks haven't deterred explorers. Drawn by the cenote's dual role as scientific marvel and cultural relic, geologists study it as a natural laboratory for fluid dynamics, while archaeologists note its resemblance to descriptions in ancient codices of rivers that flow beneath rivers, suggesting the Maya may have witnessed similar phenomena. The real magic of Angelita lies in its lesson about perception. What looks like a river is simply boundaries between fresh and salt, light and dark, myth and science interacting in unexpected ways. And perhaps that's why this sinkhole captivates us so deeply. It's not just about what's hidden beneath the surface, but how easily our eyes can be fooled into seeing magic where there's only nature, doing what it's always done, revealing its wonders to those willing to look closer. Along India's southeastern coast, where the Bay of Bengal crashes against golden shores, a cluster of ancient temples lies half-buried beneath the waves, silent witnesses to a legend long dismissed as folklore. The 7 pagodas of Mahabalipuram, as locals called them for centuries, were said to be a series of towering shrines so magnificent, the gods grew jealous and sent a great flood to swallow all but one. For generations, this tale was brushed aside as poetic exaggeration until the ocean itself revealed the truth. In 2004, when the devastating Indian Ocean tsunami drained the coastline momentarily, fishermen gasped at the sight of massive stone structures emerging from the receding waters, pillars carved with intricate lotus motifs, fragments of guardian statues, and the unmistakable outlines of temple spires. The tsunami's wrath had briefly pulled back the curtain on a lost chapter of history, exposing ruins that carbon dating would later trace to the 7th century, the zenith of the Pallava dynasty's rule. Archaeologists rushed to document the findings, confirming what oral traditions had preserved for over 1,000 years. There were more temples, and they'd been hiding in plain sight. Diving into these submerged sanctuaries today is like entering a waterlogged museum. The most striking discovery was a fully intact temple complex, its walls adorned with reliefs of Hindu deities Vishnu reclining on the cosmic serpent, Shiva in his dynamic dance of creation, and Durga slaying the buffalo demon. The craftsmanship mirrors the shore's surviving shore temple, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, but with one haunting difference: marine organisms have overgrown the underwater carvings, their tendrils weaving through the stone gods like living veils. What makes Mahabalipuram's ruins so extraordinary isn't just their artistic mastery, it's their resilience. Pallava architects designed these temples to withstand monsoons, using interlocking stones and elevated foundations, yet even they couldn't anticipate the slow creep of rising seas. Geological studies suggest a series of medieval tsunamis eroded the coastline, submerging the temples incrementally rather than in a single cataclysm. This gradual loss might explain why the 7 pagodas legend endured. Each generation watched another structure vanish, turning history into myth. The real enigma, though, lies in the temple's celestial alignments. Like their counterparts ashore, the underwater structures are positioned to capture the equinox sunrise, their stairways acting as solar markers. Were they spiritual gateways, astronomical tools, or both? The Pallavas left no written blueprints, only stone clues. Meanwhile, local fishermen still whisper warnings about diving near the ruins at dusk, claiming the gods grow restless when the light fades. Whether superstition or respect for the past, their caution underscores a timeless truth: some secrets, even when rediscovered, aren't meant to be fully unraveled. Beneath the jungles of Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula, where tangled roots give way to darkness, lies a labyrinth older than memory, the Sac-Acton cave system. Stretching over 260 miles of submerged tunnels, this isn't just the world's longest underwater cave, it's a time capsule preserving the spiritual and survival history of the ancient Maya. For centuries, these flooded chambers were more than just geological wonders. They were sacred portals to the underworld, places of ritual sacrifice, and lifelines during droughts so severe they toppled empires. Divers who navigate these caves today describe an otherworldly experience. The water is so clear, it's like floating through liquid glass, illuminated only by the glow of headlamps reflecting off blinding white limestone walls. But this beauty masks deadly peril. Narrow passages twist unexpectedly, visibility can vanish in clouds of stirred sediment, and disorientation comes easily in the endless corridors. Yet those who brave the depths are rewarded with finds that rewrite history. Along the cave floors lie ceramic pots, some still holding traces of incense or offerings, charred animal bones, jade beads, even remnants of cocoa, a sacred currency to the Maya. Then there are the human remains. Skeletons, some over 12,000 years old, rest where they fell, their bones telling silent stories of ritual drownings or desperate searches for water during catastrophic dry spells. One of the most chilling discoveries is the Hoyo Negro Pit, a void within the system where divers found the nearly intact skeleton of a teenage girl, nicknamed Nea, who fell to her death over 13,000 years ago. Her bones, preserved alongside the remains of extinct Ice Age animals like giant ground sloths and saber-toothed cats, provide a snapshot of a vanishing world. But Sac-Acton's true significance lies in its dual role. To the Maya, these caves were physical manifestations of Xibalba, the treacherous underworld where souls battled demons. Archaeologists have found altars carved into stalagmites, walls marked with handprints in sacred red pigment, and even stone pathways leading to underground chambers where priests once performed ceremonies under the flicker of torchlight. Yet these same caves were also practical salvation. When droughts parched the Yucatan between the 8th and 10th centuries, forcing the collapse of Maya city-states, locals relied on these hidden waterways. Divers have uncovered crude rope marks along walls, proof that people lowered vessels to collect fresh water from the cave's deeper layers, where it remained pure despite surface contamination. Modern exploration continues to reveal surprises. In 2018, researchers mapping Sac-Acton stumbled upon a connection to another massive cave system, Dos Ojos, effectively creating a single underwater network that stretches farther than the distance from New York City to Boston. With each new passage uncovered, the caves whisper secrets of climate catastrophes that reshape civilizations, of ceremonies conducted in echoing darkness, and of a relationship between humans and the subterranean world that's as old as time itself. The danger of diving here is real, but so is the pull of history waiting in the stillness just beyond the reach of the light. Beneath the glassy surface of Qiyandao Lake in China's Zhejiang province, a forgotten city waits in perfect stillness. Xicheng, the Lion City, drowned by progress but preserved by time. Unlike other underwater ruins claimed by natural disasters, Xicheng's fate was deliberate. In 1959, the Chinese government flooded the valley to create a hydroelectric dam, submerging over 600 years of history beneath 130 feet of water. What they didn't anticipate was how the lake's calm, mineral-rich depths would become a time capsule, freezing the city in eerie perfection. Diving into Xicheng is like entering a dream. Schools of fish dart through archways adorned with intricate carvings of lions and dragons, symbols of the city's Ming and Qing dynasty heritage. 5 towering city gates still stand, their stonework unweathered by wind or rain. Pagoda-style roofs, their upturned eaves delicate as origami, emerge from the gloom like ghostly sentinels. Even wooden beams, normally the first to rot, remain intact, their lacquered surfaces hardened by centuries of craftsmanship and now protected by the lake's cold embrace. The most haunting detail, the streets still follow the original grid, fanning out from the central axis in precise geometric patterns, as if the city is simply holding its breath until its people return. Yet with this pristine preservation comes controversy. Since rediscovery in 2001, Xicheng has become a battleground between conservationists and commercial interests. Archaeologists argue the site is priceless, a rare example of undisturbed imperial urban planning, with artifacts ranging from ceremonial pottery to inscribed stone tablets that could rewrite regional histories. But tourism developers see a golden opportunity. Proposals range from underwater glass tunnels for non-divers to LED-lit night tours, sparking fears that foot traffic and artificial lighting could accelerate erosion or disturb delicate carvings. Local divers tell a quieter story. They describe the unsettling beauty of descending through layers of time, the way sunlight filters through the water, casting moving shadows on a stone lion's face, or how porcelain shards glint like scattered coins on the lakebed. Some even claim the water itself feels different here, heavier somehow, as if the weight of history lingers in every drop. The debate over Xicheng's future reflects a larger question: how do we honor the past without turning it into spectacle? For now, the lake keeps its secrets, its silence a reminder that some treasures are best left to the deep. In the quiet waters of Rock Lake, Wisconsin, something unnatural lurks beneath the surface, a collection of angular, pyramid-like structures that have sparked debates, hoaxes, and genuine archaeological intrigue for over a century. Locals have whispered about these submerged formations since the late 1800s, when fishermen first snagged their nets on what felt like massive stone blocks hidden in the murk. By the 1930s, attempts to document the structures began in earnest, with sonar scans revealing at least 10 distinct formations, some stretching up to 60 feet long with unnervingly straight edges and sharp corners. The most striking of these resembles a truncated pyramid, its stepped sides suggesting deliberate craftsmanship rather than random geology, but who or what built them? Theories swing wildly between the plausible and the fantastical. Some geologists argue the formations are glacial remnants, chunks of ancient bedrock scoured and shaped by ice sheets during the last ice age. Others point to the lake's proximity to Native American effigy mounds, earthen structures built by the Ho-Chunk people centuries ago. Could these underwater relics be extensions of those sacred earthworks, lost to rising water levels over time? Tribal oral histories mention a lost race that once inhabited the area, though no direct link to the stones has been proven. Then there are the wilder claims. In the early 20th century, a sensationalist archaeologist named Fay Cooper insisted the structures were proof of a pre-Columbian Welsh settlement, citing debunked rune carvings as evidence. Later, fringe researchers floated theories of ancient transoceanic visitors, or even Atlantis-like refugees. The truth, as usual, is likely less dramatic, but no less fascinating. Recent underwater surveys suggest some formations might indeed be natural, while others show tantalizing signs of human modification, stacked stones, alignment with solstice sunrises, and even what appear to be collapsed walls. Local divers describe an eerie atmosphere near the structures, where the water grows colder and the light seems to bend unnaturally around the stones. Whether glacial oddities, forgotten Native American constructions, or something else entirely, Rock Lake's secrets remain stubbornly out of reach. For now, the lake keeps its mysteries, letting the stones rest in silence, waiting, perhaps, for the right moment to reveal their true story. Off the coast of modern-day Israel, where the Mediterranean laps gently against golden sands, lies the skeleton of one of antiquity's most ambitious engineering feats, the sunken port of Caesarea. Built by Herod the Great in the 1st century BCE as a tribute to his Roman overlords, this harbor wasn't just a dock for ships, it was a statement of power, a marvel of innovation, and a crossroads of civilizations. Today its ruins sprawl beneath the waves like a ghostly blueprint of Herod's grandeur, offering a window into a time when this spot was the beating heart of trade and culture in the eastern Mediterranean. What made Caesarea's harbor revolutionary was its use of hydraulic concrete, a Roman invention so advanced it still baffles engineers. Unlike ordinary mortar, this mixture used volcanic ash from Italy, which reacted with seawater to form a rock-like mass that hardened underwater. Divers can still see the remnants of massive breakwaters, some blocks weighing over 50 tons, stacked with precision to withstand the sea's fury. These weren't just functional, they were artworks, their surfaces stamped with marks from the legions of slaves and artisans who shaped them. But the real magic of Caesarea lies in the small finds. Amidst the collapsed columns and submerged warehouses, archaeologists have uncovered a kaleidoscope of artifacts that paint a vivid picture of daily life. Delicate glassware from Alexandria, amphorae still bearing traces of Spanish olive oil, and even gambling dice tossed by bored sailors. A bronze statue of a Roman emperor, its green patina softened by centuries underwater, hints at the city's political significance, while a humble child's sandal, preserved in the silt, whispers of the families who called this bustling port home. Yet for all its ingenuity, Caesarea's harbor was doomed by the very forces it sought to conquer. Geological studies reveal a tragic sequence of disasters and tsunamis triggered by offshore earthquakes, their waves battering the breakwaters until cracks became chasms. Slowly, relentless erosion took its toll, the sea reclaiming the land grain by grain. By the 7th century, what was once a gateway to empires had become a ship graveyard, its glory buried beneath the shifting sands. Now an underwater archaeological park, Caesarea invites divers to glide past its ruins, where fish dart through the hollows of toppled statues and sea anemones cling to ancient masonry. The experience is haunting, a reminder of how even the mightiest human achievements are no match for time and tide, yet in its silence the harbor still speaks of ambition, of hubris, and of the enduring allure of a city that refused to be forgotten. Beneath the cobalt waters just north of Santorini, a city sleeps swallowed not by gradual rising seas, but in a single, cataclysmic instant. This is the sunken settlement of Akrotiri's lesser-known sister, a Bronze Age metropolis buried by the same volcanic fury that shattered the island 3,600 years ago. Unlike Pompeii, frozen in volcanic rock, this city lies submerged, its streets and buildings encased in layers of ash that settled underwater like a shroud. The Minoan eruption, one of history's most violent volcanic events, didn't just obliterate it, preserved. Divers exploring these ruins encounter walls still standing 3 stories high, their surfaces adorned with frescoes so vivid, the colors bleed through the ash like whispers from the past. One particularly haunting mural depicts a fleet of ships mid-voyage, their sails billowing as if forever caught in the moment before disaster. The parallels to Plato's Atlantis are uncanny. The philosopher's description of a sophisticated island kingdom destroyed in a single day and night mirrors archaeological evidence at this site and at Akrotiri on Santorini's shore. Both locations reveal advanced drainage systems, multi-story buildings with running water, and artwork celebrating bull-leaping rituals, hallmarks of the Minoan civilization. But where Akrotiri was excavated from land, this underwater city offers something rarer, a time capsule sealed by the sea. Saltwater, normally a destroyer of artifacts, here acts as a guardian. Wooden beams, woven baskets, even remnants of meals left behind in the panic, remain eerily intact, their organic materials protected by the anaerobic environment. What truly sets this site apart is its volcanic snapshot. The ash layers tell a story not just of destruction, but of sequence, how the eruption unfolded in stages. Initial tremors likely sent residents fleeing, as evidenced by abandoned valuables and footprints pressed into wet ash. Then came the pyroclastic surges, superheated waves of gas and debris that carbonized organic matter instantly, preserving shadows of staircases and doorways in ghostly negative. Finally, the caldera collapsed, dragging sections of the city beneath the waves. Geologists compare it to a geological flipbook, each layer a frame in the disaster's progression. Yet for all its tragedy, the city's legacy endures. The frescoes' marine motifs, dolphins, octopuses, and spiraling waves suggest a culture deeply connected to the sea, perhaps even anticipating its power. Modern Santorini's whitewashed villages, perched precariously on volcanic cliffs, feel like echoes of that same relationship, beauty and peril, forever intertwined. Divers who glide over these ruins describe an overwhelming sense of humility, not just at human fragility, but at nature's ability to erase and preserve in the same breath. The ash that suffocated this city also immortalized it, a paradox as ancient as the myths it inspired. In the summer of 1958, as bulldozers tore through the quiet farmlands of Ontario, families in 10 small villages along the St. Lawrence River packed their lives into wooden crates, knowing they'd never see their homes again. This wasn't disaster or war, it was progress, the construction of the St. Lawrence Seaway, a joint mega project between Canada and the United States to create a shipping channel and hydroelectric hub, required flooding a 60-mile stretch of river valley. Overnight, communities that had stood for generations, Altsville, Farrens Point, Maple Grove, vanished beneath the rising waters, their names erased from maps but never from memory. Today, divers and kayakers glide over what locals call Canada's Atlantis, where eerie remnants of these lost villages still linger beneath the surface. On calm days when sunlight pierces the depths, the skeletal outline of Main Street in Aldsville materializes like a phantom, its cobblestones now home to schools of perch. The spire of St. John's Anglican Church, deliberately left standing as a navigation marker, juts from the water like a grave marker, its bell still ringing faintly when storms stir the currents. Most haunting are the skeletal trees, their trunks preserved by the cold freshwater, branches frozen in mid-sway as if time stopped the moment the floodgates opened. But the true weight of this loss isn't measured in bricks and mortar, it's in the human stories. Elderly survivors recall the visceral trauma of watching backhoes demolish their homes before the waters rose, a government mandate to prevent debris from becoming hazards. They let us dig up our family graves, one former resident recounted, but not everyone could afford to move their loved ones, some are still down there. The displacement fractured tight-knit communities, scattering families from Quebec to Alberta with little compensation beyond a pat on the back for national sacrifice. The irony, the seaway, hailed as an engineering triumph, never delivered its promised economic boom. Shipping traffic declined within decades, while the drowned villages became symbols of industrialization's collateral damage. Preservationists have fought to memorialize the sites. Underwater archaeologists map the ruins, revealing intact foundations, horse-drawn carriages, and even a schoolhouse slate chalked with half-erased lesson plans. Meanwhile, descendants gather annually on the shores for Homecoming Day, tossing flowers onto the water where their grandparents' front porches once stood. This isn't just a story of progress versus nostalgia, it's a cautionary tale about who pays the price for modernity. The St. Lawrence's lost villages remind us that every megaproject has a shadow history, written not in steel and concrete, but in the quiet resilience of those who remember what lies beneath. 60 feet beneath the turquoise waves of the Gulf of Mexico, just off the coast of Alabama, lies a ghostly landscape that defies time, an ancient cypress forest, untouched for 60,000 years. Imagine swimming through a labyrinth of towering tree trunks, their bark still intact, roots tangled in the seabed as if they might suddenly spring back to life. This isn't some fever dream, it's the underwater forest of Alabama, a prehistoric ecosystem so perfectly preserved, scientists call it a time capsule from the last ice age. The story of how this forest resurfaced reads like a thriller. In 2004, Hurricane Ivan slammed into the Gulf Coast with such fury, its waves scraped away layers of ocean sediment, exposing the long-buried trees. Local fishermen were the first to notice something strange, their nets snagging on what felt like wooden giants lurking beneath the waves. When divers investigated, they stumbled upon a scene straight out of a fantasy novel, a sprawling woodland, its cypress knees jutting upward like skeletal fingers, their trunks so dense and resin-rich they resisted rot for millennia. What makes this forest invaluable isn't just its age, it's the secrets locked in its rings. Researchers analyzing the wood found traces of pollen, insects, and even microorganisms frozen in time, offering a snapshot of Earth's climate during a pivotal era. These trees grew when sea levels were nearly 400 feet lower, and the Gulf Coast was a vast, icy savanna teeming with mastodons and giant sloths. Their growth rings tell a story of abrupt climate shifts, droughts, cold snaps, and sudden warm periods mirroring patterns we see today, but time is running out. Since its discovery, saltwater and marine organisms have begun devouring the forest. Shipworms bore into the wood, turning once pristine logs into spongy lace. Microbes feast on the organic material, accelerating decay. Scientists are racing to document the site before it vanishes again, using 3D scanning to map every tree, every root system, creating a digital twin of this vanishing world. The forest's most poignant lesson, it's both a warning and a marvel, a reminder of nature's power to preserve and destroy. As divers weave through its sunken groves, they're not just exploring a relic, they're touching a world that thrived when humans were just beginning to tell stories around fires. And now, as the tides rise once more, those same waters that hid the forest for millennia may soon erase it forever. Beneath the deceptively calm waters off the coast of Indonesia, a fleet of ghosts from World War II silently rusts, Nazi U-boats, hundreds of miles from where history claims they should be. These steel leviathans, once the terror of the Atlantic, met their end in the tropical depths of Southeast Asia, their hulls packed not just with weapons, but with stolen treasures looted from across occupied Europe. How they got here is one of the war's strangest untold stories, a tale of desperation, greed, and mysteries that still linger beneath the waves. The presence of German submarines in these waters was no accident. In the war's final months, as Allied forces closed in, the Nazis launched a covert operation codenamed Monsoon, a daring plan to relocate U-boats to the Pacific. Their cargo, priceless artifacts plundered from museums, private collections, and even churches, gold ingots stamped with Third Reich eagles, crates of confiscated artwork, and rumored cases of looted amber from the famed Amber Room of Russia. Some submarines were even modified with hidden compartments, their torpedo tubes welded shut to make room for treasure, but something went disastrously wrong. At least 6 U-boats, U-168, U-183, U-532, and others now lie broken on the seabed near Java and Sumatra, their missions abruptly cut short. Official records blame Allied patrols. The USS Besugo sank U-183 in April 1945, while Dutch submarines claimed U-168, but inconsistencies riddle these accounts. Divers exploring U-532 found its hatches sealed from the inside, suggesting crew suicides or sabotage. Others, like U-196, vanished without any Allied claims, their wreckage discovered decades later with eerie clues, personal diaries referencing cursed gold, and navigational charts plotting courses not to Japan, but toward remote Indonesian islands. Treasure hunters have swarmed these wrecks since the 1980s, often with deadly consequences. One salvager in 2007 surfaced with a handful of gold coins, only to die hours later from unexplained internal bleeding. Locals whisper of Gunung Duit, money mountains said to be guarded by spirits. More tangible threats exist too: unexploded ordnance, unstable hulls ready to collapse, and the lingering presence of mercury, used by the Nazis to preserve fragile artifacts, now leaching into the water. Yet the most compelling mysteries aren't about how these submarines sank, but what they carried. In 2018, archaeologists recovered a porcelain figurine from U-168's debris field, a Mason statue traced back to a Jewish collector in Prague. Nearby, a waterlogged crate held tin ingots stamped with Japanese kanji, suggesting secret deals between Axis powers, but the real prize, if legends are to be believed, remains missing: U-859's reported cargo of 2 tons of mercury, vital for gold refining, and rumored platinum bars intended to bankroll a Nazi resurgence. That submarine rests in pieces off Penang, its most valuable chambers still unopened. What draws historians back to these wrecks isn't just the treasure, it's the moral reckoning they represent. Each artifact pulled from the silt carries the weight of war crimes, stolen lives, and a regime's insatiable hunger. The submarines themselves, once symbols of terror, are now crumbling time capsules, their steel hulls whispering stories of a desperate gamble that ended not in escape, but in the deep, dark silence of the ocean floor. Off the coast of Israel, where the Mediterranean whispers against the shoreline, an entire Neolithic village lies frozen beneath the waves, Atlat Yam, a time capsule from a world 9,000 years forgotten. This isn't just a scattering of artifacts, it's a fully preserved settlement, its stone houses still standing in eerie rows, their walls intact enough to trace the outlines of doorways and hearths. Walking through these submerged streets, divers describe the uncanny sensation of drifting through a place that once buzzed with life, where families gathered, tools were forged, and the first seeds of agriculture were sown. But what makes Atlat Yam truly extraordinary isn't just its age or preservation, it's the haunting clues it offers about humanity's first steps toward civilization and the hidden costs of that revolution. Among the ruins, archaeologists uncovered something chilling, the oldest known evidence of tuberculosis in human history. Skeletons buried in shallow graves show telltale pitting on their bones, a grim signature of the disease that would plague humanity for millennia. One burial in particular stands at a mother and child, curled together in eternal repose, their bones bearing the unmistakable scars of TB. This discovery rewrites medical history, proving the disease didn't emerge with crowded cities, as once thought, but festered in these early farming communities. The reason Atlat Yam's people were pioneers of a dangerous new experiment, animal domestication. Analysis of the village's waste pits reveals cattle bones alongside human remains, suggesting close quarters between species allowed TB to jump from livestock to humans, a tragic side effect of progress. Yet the village layout tells a more hopeful story. Carefully dug wells, lined with stone to prevent collapse, show advanced understanding of hydrology. Circular structures believed to be granaries hint at surplus food storage, a radical innovation that freed people from day-to-day hunting. Most striking are the ritual installations, a semicircle of massive stones surrounding a freshwater spring, possibly used for ceremonies or communal gatherings. This wasn't just a cluster of huts, it was a society with shared beliefs, division of labor, and the beginnings of governance. Equally fascinating is how Atlat Yam met its end. Geological cores taken from the seabed tell of a sudden catastrophe, not war or pestilence, but a slow-motion disaster still relevant today: rising seas. As glaciers melted at the end of the last ice age, the Mediterranean crept inland, infiltrating freshwater sources with salt and drowning fields. The villagers likely fought back, building makeshift barriers seen in sediment layers, but nature won. Their exodus is etched in the mud footprints leading away from the shoreline, toward higher ground and an uncertain future. Now a protected underwater museum, Atlat Yam invites us to ponder an uncomfortable truth. These early farmers, much like us, reshaped their environment to survive, domesticating plants, altering landscapes, and unwittingly unleashing new diseases. Their story is our prologue, a reminder that every leap forward carries hidden consequences. As divers hover above those ancient hearths, the question lingers: when future archaeologists study our drowned cities, what will they say about the choices we made? Beneath the azure waters of Jamaica's coastline, where tourists now sip rum cocktails under swaying palms, lies a city frozen in sin. Port Royal, the Sodom of the New World, swallowed whole by the sea in a single, cataclysmic moment. On the morning of June 7, 1692, this pirate haven was the wealthiest and most debauched port in the Americas, a lawless playground where gold doubloons clinked in taverns and cutthroats like Henry Morgan plotted raids between swigs of grog. By afternoon it was a graveyard. A massive earthquake liquefied the sandy ground, sucking 2/3 of the city into the Caribbean in minutes, as if the ocean itself had passed divine judgment. Divers exploring the ruins today encounter a snapshot of hedonism interrupted. Brick warehouses still stand, their walls leaning drunkenly, barrels of rum preserved in the silt. Silver forks lie scattered next to pewter plates, as if diners fled mid-meal. Most haunting are the personal touches: a waterlogged Bible open to Psalm 48, its pages stained with salt water, or a child's leather shoe, perfectly intact, resting near the skeleton of a tavern keeper crushed by falling bricks. Archaeologists even recovered a pocket watch from the wreckage, its hands forever frozen at 11:43, the exact moment the quake struck. Port Royal's rise and fall reads like a morality play. Founded by the Spanish but seized by the British in 1655, it became the nerve center of Caribbean piracy, where privateers like Morgan, knighted by England for plundering Spanish ships, blurred the line between national hero and criminal. The city streets teemed with brothels, gambling dens, and markets trading stolen goods from every corner of the empire. Sailors swore the air smelled of salt, sweat, and sugarcane rum, a scent so thick it clung to clothes for weeks. But the very geography that made Port Royal prosperous, a narrow spit of land jutting into Kingston Harbor, also doomed it. Built on loose sand with no bedrock, the city was a disaster waiting to happen. The earthquake wasn't just geological karma, it was a cultural bombshell. Preachers across Europe seized on the tragedy as proof of God's wrath, while survivors told lurid tales of drunken sailors swallowed mid-toast and brothels collapsing with their occupants still inside. Yet the ruins reveal a subtler truth. Amid the vice, Port Royal was also a hub of innovation. Its shipwrights pioneered shallow draft designs perfect for piracy, and its merchants created one of the New World's first stock exchanges. Even Morgan, the archetypal villain, died peacefully in bed as Jamaica's lieutenant governor, his legacy as tangled as the shipwrecks he left in his wake. Now a UNESCO site, Port Royal's underwater streets offer more than just relics. They're a mirror. The same forces that built the city, greed, ambition, and the clash of empires, also destroyed it. As divers glide past a sunken pewter flagon or a rusted anchor half buried in sand, the lesson lingers. Civilizations, like pirate fortunes, are often just one tremor away from vanishing beneath the waves. Beneath the waves lapping at Easter Island's rugged coastline, a shadowy rumor persists, one that challenges everything we think we know about the island's iconic stone guardians. While the towering moai statues standing sentinel on land have captivated the world for centuries, whispers among local divers and archaeologists suggest their missing siblings may lie hidden offshore, toppled and swallowed by the Pacific in some long-forgotten catastrophe. The idea isn't as far-fetched as it seems. Easter Island's history is written in upheaval. Oral traditions speak of devastating tsunamis, and geological studies confirm the island's vulnerability to seismic shocks. Could entire sections of the coast, and the statues upon them, have been dragged underwater in moments of unimaginable violence? Evidence is tantalizingly fragmented. In 2014, a team scanning the seabed near Hangaroa Harbor detected anomalous shapes resembling the distinctive broadheads and angular features of moai. Yet without full-scale excavation, a prospect fraught with ethical and logistical hurdles, these remain ghostly sonar blips, open to interpretation. Compare this to the landlocked moai, whose purpose and transport methods were only recently decoded after decades of research. We now know these monoliths weren't just solitary figures, but part of elaborate ceremonial platforms called ahu, their backs often inscribed with petroglyphs linking them to ancestor worship. If submerged moai exist, they might hold even older carvings, preserved by the ocean's cold embrace from centuries of weathering. The mystery intertwines with the Rapa Nui people's tragic decline. By the time Europeans arrived in the 18th century, many moai had already been toppled, likely during the clan wars sparked by ecological collapse. Deforestation, overpopulation, and resource depletion turned a sophisticated society into a cautionary tale, one that makes the prospect of underwater statues all the more poignant. Were these lost moai casualties of human conflict, or victims of the sea's indiscriminate wrath? The distinction matters. Tsunamis leave geological fingerprints, layers of sediment and coral debris, whereas toppled statues in shallow water might indicate ritual destruction or even intentional placement as coastal guardians. This brings us to the delicate question of intervention. Should these potential underwater relics be left undisturbed, their context preserved in situ for future technologies? Or does the risk of erosion and looting justify recovery? The debate echoes larger tensions in maritime archaeology. When Norwegian explorer Thor Heyerdahl hauled statues ashore in the 1950s, his crude methods destroyed stratigraphic clues. Modern protocols demand non-invasive techniques like 3D photogrammetry, but even these require brushing away sediment, potentially altering the site. Rapa Nui elders, meanwhile, guard their ancestral legacy warily. Many view the moai as living embodiments of spirits, not mere artifacts for foreign museums. Perhaps the most haunting possibility is that these rumored underwater moai never existed at all, that they are projections of our own fascination with Easter Island's enigmas. Yet in a way that uncertainty is fitting, the island has always been a mirror, reflecting back our assumptions about collapse, resilience, and the footprints cultures leave behind. Whether the ocean guards more statues or simply the ghosts of stories untold, the sea keeps its secrets close, reminding us that some mysteries resist unraveling. Beneath the churning gray waves of the North Sea lies a lost world, a sprawling prehistoric landscape that once connected Britain to mainland Europe. This was Doggerland, a Mesolithic paradise of rolling hills, dense forests, and winding rivers, home to hunter-gatherers for thousands of years before the sea claimed it forever. Today its existence is pieced together through fragments dragged up by fishermen's nets, antler tools, flint spearheads, and the occasional mammoth bone, all preserved in the silt-like messages from a vanished epoch. The most haunting discoveries come from the depths near the Dogger Bank, a submerged sandbank where dredging operations have unearthed not just artifacts, but entire ecosystems frozen in time. Ancient tree stumps, their roots still gripping the seabed, stand as ghostly sentinels of forests that thrived 8,000 years ago. Among them lie the bones of aurochs, giant deer, and even hyenas, proof that this was once a fertile hunting ground, not the barren underwater desert it appears today. But the real treasure is the human evidence, a finely crafted bone harpoon, its barbs still sharp enough to pierce fish skin, and a fragment of a carved wooden paddle, its edges worn smooth by hands that vanished millennia ago. What makes Doggerland so compelling isn't just its scale, stretching from the Netherlands to eastern England, but how it forces us to confront climate change as an ancient, relentless force. As glaciers melted at the end of the last ice age, sea levels rose at a pace that would terrify modern planners, nearly 2 meters per century in some phases. For Doggerland's inhabitants, this wasn't a theoretical crisis, it was a slow-motion eviction. Each generation would have watched familiar landmarks disappear, fishing grounds turn saline, and freshwater springs succumb to the encroaching tide. Archaeologists speculate that the final blow came around 6200 BCE, when a catastrophic tsunami, triggered by an underwater landslide off Norway, inundated the last remaining hilltops, turning a peninsula into an archipelago, and then into myth. The parallels to our era are impossible to ignore. Like modern coastal communities, Doggerland's people adapted until they couldn't, retreating to higher ground, altering their diets as ecosystems shifted, and eventually abandoning a landscape that had sustained them for centuries. Their story is etched in the DNA of modern Europeans. Some researchers believe the trauma of displacement may even be preserved in oral traditions, like the Welsh legend of Cantrair Gwaelod, a sunken kingdom swallowed by the sea. Yet Doggerland's legacy isn't just tragedy, it's a testament to resilience. The tools and artifacts suggest not a sudden collapse, but a gradual transition as communities migrated westward, carrying their knowledge into Britain and beyond. Today, as sonar maps reveal drowned river valleys and lost coastlines with startling clarity, these submerged lands offer more than just archaeological insight, they're a mirror. When divers recovered a single human footprint, pressed into peat and preserved by the sea's cold embrace, they weren't just uncovering the past, they were touching the echo of a crisis that feels all too familiar, a reminder that the line between land and water has always been written in sand. Beneath the turquoise waters of Micronesia's Truk Lagoon, time stands still in a way that chills the soul. This isn't just another dive site, it's a submerged battlefield, a ghostly fleet of Japanese warships, fighter planes, and tanks frozen in their final moments from February 1944, when Operation Hailstone turned these waters into a graveyard. The U.S. military's two-day blitzkrieg sank over 50 vessels, from massive battleships to supply barges, scattering them across the lagoon floor like broken toys. But what makes Truk Lagoon unique isn't the scale of destruction, it's the eerie preservation. These aren't skeletal wrecks, they're time capsules, their corridors still lined with gas masks, sake bottles, and even the occasional human rib cage, all draped in gardens of coral that blur the line between rust and reef. Swim through the holds of the Fujikawa Maru, a converted aircraft transport, and you'll find Zeo fighter planes encased in tendrils of soft coral, their wings still bearing the red sun insignia. Peer into the engine room of the Shinkoku Maru, a tanker-turned-hospital ship, where surgical tools lie scattered beside medicine vials, their labels legible after 80 years underwater. Most haunting are the personal effects, a pair of leather boots standing upright as if waiting for their owner, or a teacup resting on a rusted table, its position suggesting an interrupted meal. The silence here isn't empty, it's thick with stories. Local dive masters speak of a palpable energy, a sense that the lagoon remembers the screams and explosions that filled it that day. Yet Truk Lagoon's tragedy has birthed an unexpected rebirth. The wrecks, initially tombs, have become thriving artificial reefs, their steel skeletons home to barracuda, manta rays, and technicolor schools of antheas. Coral crescendos over gun turrets, and sea fans sway where sailors once stood. This paradoxical beauty has drawn divers from around the world, but it's not without controversy. Some argue the site should be left undisturbed as a war memorial, while others see it as an irreplaceable museum, its artifacts too historically vital to leave to decay. The Japanese government has even lobbied for the return of human remains, though many families, acknowledging the logistical impossibility, have quietly accepted the lagoon as their ancestors' final resting place. What lingers after diving Truk Lagoon isn't just the visual spectacle, it's the weight of perspective. These ships were once symbols of imperial ambition, their crews certain of their cause. Now they're lessons in hubris and the ocean's indifferent power to reclaim. As sunlight filters through the portholes of a crumbling destroyer, illuminating a lone porcelain bowl on the seabed, the message is clear: empires rise and fall, but the sea writes their epitaphs in rust and coral, patient and pitiless. From the volcanic fury that buried Minoan cities to the slow creep of rising seas that claimed Doggerland's forests, these 25 underwater sites share a haunting truth: civilizations, no matter how grand, are fragile in the face of nature's whims. Some fell to earthquakes or tsunamis, their streets silenced in an instant. Others, like Port Royal, were undone by human folly, their excesses literally swallowed by the earth. And then there are the enigmas: Yonaguni's geometric cliffs, Cuba's phantom pyramids, places that defy explanation, hinting at chapters of history we've yet to decipher. What unites them all is the ocean's role as both destroyer and preservationist, erasing empires while safeguarding their secrets in salt and silt. Underwater archaeology has become our time machine, revealing truths that rewrite textbooks. Take Atlat Yam's TB-riddled skeletons, proving diseases crossed from animals to humans far earlier than assumed, or Heracleion's bilingual steels, confirming trade links between Egypt and Greece long before historians thought possible. Each dive into these submerged worlds chips away at the arrogance of modern assumptions, reminding us that past cultures were often more connected, sophisticated, and adaptable than we give them credit for. The seafloor isn't just a graveyard, it's an archive, its pages written in shipwrecks and temple stones waiting to be read. So which of these sites captured your imagination? Was it the tragic beauty of Cleopatra's palace, its statues still standing guard after centuries underwater? Or maybe the Baltic Sea's eerie anomaly, a Rorschach test for conspiracy theorists and scientists alike? Drop your favorites in the comments. We'd love to hear which mysteries make you pause and wonder. And if you're hungry for more enigmas, stick around. From lost deserts hiding dinosaur fossils to caves filled with prehistoric art, Our next adventures will keep unearthing the past's most tantalizing puzzles. After all, history isn't just about what we know, it's about what's still out there, waiting in the dark.